I'm live. Stop streaming. Go live. All right. So, hello, sword friends. Hopefully, I am streaming. This is a slightly different camera, slightly different view. It's a webcam this time instead of the previous thing I was using. Hopefully, it's working. I found that StreamYard was fine. I really don't have problems. It's great for like inviting guests, but the image quality is not particularly fantastic. So I thought I would try using OBS, which means it's using my webcam because I'm smart and I don't know how to use the other thing. And so, yeah, we will see how this all works out. If it is working, Samurai Bird is confirming that it is working. Thank you, sir. There you go. Hopefully you're hearing me and things are working. Fantastic. Anyway, OBS is unfamiliar to me, so this is going to be a little bit a little bit derpy, but I figured I'd give it a whirl, and there we go. So here we are, everyone, doing the streaming thing, seeing if this works out, and if it does, then in theory I will be able to broadcast in marginally better quality in the future, because StreamYard requires a subscription in order to stream in like a higher fidelity, and I think it's still worth doing if I'm doing like interview kind of stuff, but I don't want to pay a monthly subscription fee because it doesn't financially make a whole lot of sense. So OBS is free, and I think it lets me do a little bit nicer interwebs, hopefully. Hopefully you can see my beautiful 5-head better than you typically do. So anyway, I don't have any particular plan to talk about anything today, but I can chat about questions. I can talk about swords, because that's the thing I talk about. I'm totally prepared. I've got my little bit of Four Roses bourbon here to see if this works or not. and yeah. Anyway, so that is what I'm doing now. I have. It says the current stream bitrate is lower than the recommended rate. Well, that's problematic. Anyway, guys, let me know if things are awful and if things go kittywampus and are not generally good. But plan is just to babble about swords. So if anyone has any topics they would like me to babble about in particular, please let me know, and I will endeavor to babble inanely about them for you. And yeah, well, can I select things? How do I... StreamYard is very good about like being able to click things and say like, this was good or this was not. Chat. Can I see chat? Do you guys see chat? You obviously see chat. Can I see chat? No. Why do I not see chat? All right. This is the joy. I'm sure it's wildly entertaining for everyone to hop on here and be like, yeah, this is really fun, Matt, to watch you kind of boomer style try to figure out complicated streaming software. This is amazing. I love doing that. I was hoping I could figure out how to like make chat show up on the screen. Window chat proper filter? No. Okay. Chrome. Chat. It's called chat. This one. No. That's what's going on with me. That's not what I want to do. Stop it. Ah. Well, I won't be able to put the chat up on the screen because I'm not smart enough to do it, but maybe one day I will be. I'm just happy that it actually went on the internet, so that is progress. I can see, and hopefully you can see on the YouTube screen, some chat. As far as I can tell, it's that way for you, I think. I think that's the way it is. Anyway, I will endeavor to respond, but unlike StreamYard, it's not easy for me to pick them up and put them on the doobly-doo. So anyway, Bird is in. Hello, Samurai Bird. Thank you for confirming that this is working. Twiggy Slunk. Oh, this is not going to... Vass. Okay. Vass Montengo. Hopefully I'm saying correctly. Just wanted to say it real quick. Your videos have been super helpful in my own training as well as general knowledge of katana. Thank you very much. I'm glad they are helpful. Hopefully I can make the stream more entertaining than just my 5-head trying to stare at small text. Michael asks, which streams and or videos get the most views when talking about katana, wakizashi, or other swords? That's a good question for me to start babbling about. So, katana, for me, generally tend to do the best in terms of the videos that I make, and when I divert from katana to something else, the videos inevitably do a little bit worse to much worse. So, if I talk about swords of another variety, then it doesn't usually do as well as a katana, but it will still kind of be in the same ballpark, I guess I would say. Then, if I divert further to, like I've talked about, knives, those don't generally do particularly well, and I did one on a razor blade that didn't do particularly well. But it's not in the same ballpark as a katana, but like for me, the views are always not pretty high in general, I guess I would say. So like a really well-performing video for me 1 month after being out would be like 6,000 views. That would be a particularly well-performing, not like viral or anything, but good for me. That's the realm that I would be in. So after about a month, 6,000 views would be great. And if it was a really interesting katana video or something that a lot of people were really curious about, then that would be something. And so really expensive swords tend to do that, or it's a rarity. The one that did it was my friend John's really expensive Evolution blade. That performed really well. That'd be an example of that. Other katana videos tend to do about 3,000, maybe 4,000 videos, or 4,000 views after a month. So that's more or less average-ish for a katana video, 3,000 to 4,000 views after a month. 2,000 maybe on the low side, 4,000 on the higher side, 6,000 if it's really well performing. And a European style sword will do maybe 2,000 to 3,000. And I haven't had a particularly well performing European style sword video yet, but generally speaking, they kind of trail behind the katana videos that I make. Wakizashi do as well. Katana, for whatever reason, seem to be the really specific sword that does well, and other swords like spears, polearms don't do as well. They go beneath any other kind of sword. Naturally, it seems to be very sword specific on the channel. Then knives, and then below that, probably like knife adjacent things. The razor blade video I didn't do bad, but it was like 1,000 views after a month or so, as opposed to 2,000 or 3,000. And then like sword adjacent things like stands don't do well. The Flitz video that I put out didn't do particularly well. Those are relatively low performing videos for me, but they, I think, are still sword applicable and hopefully like helpful. And since the main goal that I have isn't to get views, but to help folks, I think that it's still like in the realm of things. But yeah, the katana videos absolutely do the best, and the more YouTube-y I play, the better it tends to do. But I feel kind of dirty if I do it. If I'm like, $5 million sword cuts through tank, then I would probably get a lot more videos. And the cheeky videos that I made about like katana better than longsword, or like what can you cut with, like I think with the best performing video on my channel is what can you cut with a $50 sword, and it's like me trying to cut a rug apart with a $50 sword. I feel a little dirty doing those things. Some of them are cheeky and fun, and like I don't mind doing it so much with shorts, but I try to steer clear of it when it comes to when it comes to good old what's am I talking about? When I'm doing long form videos, I try not to make them clickbaity, because I don't. If people aren't interested in the video, I don't want it to like stumble upon people that aren't really interested in swords. This is not a viral topic that I'm going after. It's very unlikely that people not interested in swords would find value in the content that I make. So I don't try to entice people that wouldn't stumble upon it outside of the hobby, generally speaking, unless I'm feeling cheeky, which sometimes I do. Samurai Bird, you're asking, what's up with Ryan's Sword reaching out to reviewers? They think they want to up their game. Well, they've reached out to me. I guess I've reached out to them more than they've reached out to me, but I do want to... I think they reached out and said, hey, we're looking to do some other project type stuff. I believe, if I understand correctly, they're making a sword, and I asked them for some specific dimensions on a katana, and they're trying to fit within like a budget, and so a budget with custom dimensions is what I asked them for, and so if so, it will be interesting. Right now, I know a few people at my dojo that are on a tight budget and also looking for a longsword that is geared toward tamashigiri. And so if you want a grass cutting, or in your case, Bird, like a green bamboo cut, slaying katana, and maybe you want something a little bit more your size or your style or dimensionally specific, that's tough to do. There's a lot of 28-inch swords out there, but they tend to be a little harder to find if you're looking for something that doesn't feel like a crowbar and is like 30 inches long. Spicy Mike is over here saying, as much as I don't like Ryan's Sword, I do think it's good that they're taking steps to improve. I think so too. It seems like there's a fair amount of evidence to support some, less than pleasant activities that may have happened in the past, whether it be, what was it? There was lamination blades that they were selling that weren't really laminated, and there was some back and forth with, I think, nasty words, or I can't remember exactly what. But honestly, I don't want sword companies to shrivel up and die. I want them to improve and make better stuff. And to Ryan Sword's credit, the experiences I've had with them, being a reviewer guy that has solicited samples from them, they've always been very, very pleasant. And the swords they've sent have also been really good. One of them that I broke, I really, really liked. The folded one with a bohie in it was really, really nice feeling sword, and I enjoyed that quite a bit. And recently they sent me one that really surprised me. It had a beautiful polish on it for $500, and that's not going to be something that necessarily is an appealing thing for everyone to have, but it's awesome that in a $500 sword you can get a polish that is, really, really zazzy and pretty on a very nice blade. I didn't think the fittings and all that were up to the same level, but it is a $500 sword that I looked at, and that was in the difference between a cheap and expensive $500 swords. Ryan Sword sent me that video, or sent me the swords to do that video, which reminds me, Mike, I have 5 swords from, I keep saying Jayco. That's probably not the right way to say their name, and now a bunch of people probably say Jayco, and that's probably mispronouncing their name because I'm a doofus. But they sent me 5 swords. I have them. There's a through-hardened blade. There's a differentially hardened blade, both in kind of a mono steel. And then there's a through-hardened folded blade and a through-hardened, or a differentially hardened folded blade. And then a mono steel Hitatsura style heat-treated blade, which is like the hamon that's erratic and all over the blade. And the Hitatsura isn't exactly as erratic as I'd like to. It's more of like a really flamboyant hamon as opposed to like a quasi through hardening. But I've been noodling on how to make that video. I had hoped to do it on my last vacation, and I didn't. But hopefully I can soon, because it'd be fun to push those and say, like, what differences are there? Hopefully that's a video that I can make soon, which is not at all the question Spicy Mike asked, but is the one I babbled about anyway. So, let's see. What else is going on here? If anyone... Twiggy asked, if you heard someone breaking into your house, what would be your first choice to defend yourself with? And I'm going to speculate you mean sword, but I would grab the firearm that I have next to my bed. That would be my choice. I sold my favorite one, which was a Gnunting made by John Lendemo, and it was short and small and maneuverable, and so in corridors and things like that where I need to move around, I would not choose a katana. and I wouldn't choose a European sword. I'd want something that I could bash with. I'm not prepared for a home invasion. Like, it's not a scenario that I'm drilling for, right? So I would imagine that in the heat of the moment, waking me and rousing me in the middle of the night and flushing my system with adrenaline, that I'm going to be somewhat more derpy than normal, which is already kind of derpy. So I wouldn't want something that is double-edged, like a European arming sword or something like that. I don't have a shield. I also need something smaller. So I think a gununting is actually a pretty effective tool for like that. It gives me a little bit of reach. They're usually pretty durable. I don't have the gununting anymore, though. Somebody bought my gununting, so I don't have that. And now I have a short spear next to my bed, next to my firearm for pokiness, because I can thrust with it, and it's got a long handle, and it gives me leverage, but it's also quite sharp at the end, and I wouldn't feel bad if I bashed it into things, and it's pretty durable and wide that way. But other kind of notable favorites, the messer that I have would probably be, if I were smarter and move that spear over, Swordfin Ian gave me a messer from Lance Connect Emporium, and it is absolutely spectacular. I love it, and Lance Connect Emporium sent me a couple other messers, which is another thing I need to get off my ass and get done. But the messers from Lance Connect Emporium are also extraordinarily effective. They're very durable things. They have like little knuckle guards, a little bit of hand protection, offer reach. They seem quite durable and effective there. So that would, out of what I currently have, that would probably be my choice. Would be one of those with like a knuckle guard. Somebody got in close, it'd be hard, but I could punch with it as well as deliver some very effective thrust. But I'm also not using something so long that it's gonna whack into doors and stuff, or it probably would. But I think the home defense one would probably be better to have smaller. The one I have is probably just a little bit long, so I think the shorter one, or maybe when I get to breaking one of the other Lance Connect Emporium pieces, it will be shorter, and I can use that one, whatever one I end up breaking. But Twiggy, fair enough question. I am not an expert in this area, though, so I think a lot of people, when asked, like, for home defense, I don't know, if it's like a guy thing where we're like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to panic and squeal like a little girl and hide under the covers, probably. Or maybe I won't. I have kids and a wife. I will, I will address the problem. At least I hope that I would, but I don't think I would be terribly effective or like a smooth operator in those scenarios. So I want something that is going to keep me from hurting myself. Strong, important factor there. Vess, are you also a big folding knife guy? I gotta ask if you got into the knife bling, bro. I'm a Cold Steel and Spyderco fanboy. Knives to me are, yes, I don't think you can be a sword guy without also kind of being mildly infatuated with baby swords, as I call them. And so, yes, I absolutely like knives, but I will say that they don't... It's really because of YouTube, I think. In the past, I used to be much more of a knife guy, but the knife community is full of other more competent people making content. So it's not hard to find somebody that is giving you close-up videos of knives. They're easier to take pictures of. They're easier to like bring about and do things with. And so I just have a lot less to add to that, and my focus became on swords. And then I also started a channel, and I started doing a lot with swords over my time, and I focus a lot more on sword training. So by proxy, I tend to be a little bit more of a sword guy, and the knife collection that I had has dwindled quite a bit, and my focus on them has lessened. Every now and again, I'll still make a knife video, and I still enjoy it, and there's still some that bring me just a lot of smiles and happiness. But a lot of times, like the knives that I get, I become much more fixated on them as a thing to carry and use, rather than like a collection thing or an art object. Not to say they can't be, they absolutely can be, but less so. I do have a couple knife reviews that I am working on. One is another chef knife from Sal Moretto. He sent me a big choppy boy that I am working on playing with. Spicy Mike was in the room earlier. He recently sent me one. I did a review on, not really a review, I made a video about the experience of this knife he made, a chef knife out of old swords, which incidentally has become quite a bit less beautiful since I have used it to cut a lot of fruit and things like that. So it's become quite a bit more stained, but just absolutely tickles me every time I pick it up. Those are things that I absolutely get a ton of joy from. There's also some knives that just have sentimental value, and that makes them harder to carry. There's knives that I'm also working on one that Mini Katana has a brand called Inviticus or something like that blades, and they sent me, it's called like the Silver Wing, or it's based off a dragon. And I thought when I got this knife that it was going to be the dumb. I don't know. I don't have it here. I have it up in like the drawer with my wallet and stuff like that, because I've carried it now for a couple months as my everyday carry knife. And I thought at first, if I'm gonna make a video about it, I have to use it for a while. I have to have something meaningful to contribute to the conversation. And I definitely thought it would be stupid, because I carry a Benchmade most of the time that I bought from a friend of mine, and it's a little drop tip flip knife. But this Mini Katana fantasy dragon knife that if I understood this software better, I would pull it up and show it to you, but alas, I do not. So anyway, it's a weird looking knife. It has like a belly and a point and little fullering and stuff, but I have really liked it. So yeah, that has also, there's plenty of things for me to learn and be surprised by with knives still, and I do absolutely enjoy them, but I find myself less inclined to do much content with them, because I don't know. I don't know as much about them. All right. Let's see. So my software has, let's try live chat. Oh my God. Okay. I have a lot to learn about this software. What did I miss? Lots of stuff, probably. Okay, sorry. I'm figuring out chat. I'm bad at it when the software is familiar. This is not. All right. So the $50 Musashi video was a fun video. You got to smash shaving cream cans. That was from Vast. All right. Sometimes if you tag me in the chat with @MattJensen, if you have a question for me, then it pulls up and shows up differently. You're welcome to do that if you want. I don't mind being tagged 1,000 times. It helps me visually pull out what you're asking me if you have a question for me. But I will try to read the things that you have already written. I'm just asking you to excuse my laziness there. How is the sword knife doing? Well, Mike, I mentioned it a minute ago. It is stained and certainly less pretty than it was when you sent it to me, but just as sharp as when you sent it to me, and it has not broken. Nothing bad has happened. The wood from the scabbard wears a little differently, and it's easier to grip now. I think it's aged a little bit, but I had this big brisket that was giant that needed to be diced up, and it made very short work of doing some very, much larger tasks than... then it's not that it was a problem with other knives that I've had, but having a big knife, it really moved through, and that S-grind that you do, it wasn't stuck. Usually I kind of have to be a little fidgety when I do some of that stuff, and this, I can just put it down and go, what? It reminded me of how some Japanese folks cleave tuna, and they just take this big old knife and go, what? And this whole big animal just separates. That has not been my experience in using the Shun or the other knives that I've gotten to play with that are of a sizable variety. There have been some that were sharper, but they always got a little bit stuck. But the S-grind that you have, I think, keeps it from being sticky. It's also wide, and I thought that it would be more cumbersome to use, that it wouldn't act like a thinner knife, but it seems to not get stuck, and it seems to play pretty nice, at least in my hands, and I'm getting used to it. It's a little wider, and I find myself grabbing it more with my bottom fingers than the top ones, but anyway, getting used to it, still enjoying it, and it performs very, very well. And it hasn't bitten me yet, which I'm marginally concerned about, because usually I've cut myself with them by now. Anyway, yes, all very good, sir. I'm still enjoying it. And no lie, if Swordford Mike is here, Michael Curley, 7th Dragon Knife Works, he he made that knife, and that is one of the things that absolutely tickles me. I think at some point I should make a video about some of my favorite swords. I've talked about them probably a fair amount, but most of it is going to be like sentimental sappiness, and that knife from Mike is absolutely among my favorite swords. It's big enough to be considered a sword in some cases, but it's so cool that there's a knife that is made from broken swords that I had from a video. That's so fun. That's so incredibly fun. It tickles me every time I pick it up. Every time I pick it up, I look at it and like it just, yeah. Anyway, positive vibes, and that, I don't know. It shows me that like when you have an object that like there's obviously performance standpoints, and I understand that like, hey, this steel does this, and yeah, like there's ways to get a lot out of the material to unlock performance characteristics, and I'm not trying to say that that isn't important, or that craftsmanship and quality and assembly and all those things aren't important and shouldn't be there. But when you have them, there's just more to it. There's more to life than specs, right? And so that knife is filled with like memories and a friend who made me something awesome, and it tickles me every time I pick it up. And so all those positive vibes are locked into that. And if you can find objects like that, then I don't know, they go beyond the performance characteristics, and that's absolutely one that does it for me. So I'm using it. It sits on the counter, and I do remember to clean it off. But anyway, yes, cheers to Mike and that knife. It's been so fun. Four Roses bourbon too. I don't know. I like Scotch. I like just about anything. I'm not a picky date here, but I'm out of beer, and I got some bourbon, and I had just a little bit left of the Four Roses bourbon. I really happen to like that stuff, and bourbon is enough where if I pour myself a little glass gives me just a kick in the teeth, and that's what I'm looking for. Scotch always makes me want a lot more of it, but bourbon makes me the right kind of burn and sweet mixes in where I'm like, that's enough. I'm good. So I started to really like bourbon a little bit more. All right. Where was I? Oh, I clicked the wrong thing and totally lost my software. Okey-doke. All right. Andrew Stock. This is a test. I see your test. You are acknowledged, sir. Well done. And it is much easier for me to see. I don't know if it says Matt. I think the Matthew Jensen thing worked out. Seems to. Yeah. It's easier to spot anyway. Thank you for doing that. The sword knife doing. Short spear, good for dueling with a Zulu warrior. I find short spears to be effective, little swordy things. At least if you're not usually hitting anyone with the weak part of the sword. So if you can kind of get reach if you want it, an axe and mix like an axe and a little bit like a sword. But you can kind of get in and use leverage and pry and stuff. And I think that's not an ineffective way of home defense. Having a shorter spear. It's about yay big. Kind of short swordish in length, but I can choke up on it and use it as a knife. I can grab, I can move things around, and so I think that's reasonably effective. I carry my cold steel blades to work and my Spyderco blades to dinner. To me, cold steel folders are amazingly durable, effective tools. I have not been... I'm trying to think of if I have... I've had cold steel folding knives. I can't recall them being particularly me liking them a lot. Not disliking them. I want to specify that. The Benchmade knives fit my hand and were smaller. The cold steel blades that I've had tend to be a little bit bulbousier, and so when I'm carrying them around, I don't usually need all that. I like the SRK knife though, and there's been a few cold steel knives that I've held and absolutely have kind of been tickled by, or I've really enjoyed. I don't have many. I've had a Spyderco knife before. I didn't mind it, but it didn't justify the it didn't do anything to make me want to hang on to it, I guess. But yeah, pocket knives I also lose a lot, and so it's only over my lifespan, I've only really carried like a knife over $100 for like 10 years or so. And the vast majority of my life, it was like a $25 knife that I was comfortable losing. And so a lot of them were like buck folders. I thought that those for like the $20, $30 range, which probably doesn't exist anymore, those were very solid knives for knives that you were going to lose a lot. Because that's inevitably what happened is they came out of my pocket. So I was quite loath to keep, to carry around like $100 knife. But now I do. Now I'll carry one around, and oddly the pocket clips. Understandably, the pocket clips usually actually retain and hold on better in nicer knives, and so you tend to lose them less. So that's also something to consider. The Okami, do you have a favorite sword lore, historical war duel that you would like to talk about? For example, Musashi's duel or Battle of Agincourt. Honestly, no. Like, it's outside, not my realm of interest, but certainly my realm of expertise, and so I don't tend to lean into. Lore is a little bit different, like Dungeons and Dragons and that kind of thing, but historical stuff I shy away from just because I look like an idiot pretty quick because I don't know a whole lot about it. There was an interesting thing about Musashi losing a duel, and it was to another, is it Shinshinryu? The founder of another school, like, had a draw with Musashi or won. I'm not, but then I was like, I thought Musashi won all his duels. That's one that I would like to learn more about, but I don't know. I could only look stupid in front of you, which isn't much different than what I do anyway, but have less interesting stuff to say about it. In terms of lore, it's not exactly lore, but I fell off the deep end quite a bit playing Baldur's Gate 3, and there were a number of very fun-looking swords in that. And for a minute, I thought it'd be fun to, like, make a video about all the different, because I think my item bag had one of every sword in the video game at a point, but to, like, talk about if I'd like to have a replica of a sword that was in that video game and which ones were the most fun. But I thought it was too clickbaity, so I never made the video, but I did enjoy playing the game. So derpy Dungeons and Dragons lore, I guess, is pretty fun. Mr. Curly, perhaps we could do a ramble and yak about how all that works regarding Yes, we could do that. Ping me, let me know a Friday night that you are free that isn't next Friday. Because Patrick, I have booked next Friday, but Friday night at 7 or some other time that I am not working, I would be absolutely thrilled to chat with you about all of the sorting and bring your duck. For those of you that don't follow Mike, he has a duck. It's not a euphemism, it's a duck. And it's awesome. Joe is here. Glad to see you. Recently ordered Jayco. I'm probably saying it. What should I expect? What should I ask for in the pictures before they send any advice? That's penodic. Okay, well, short answer is just make sure that you're happy with it. Ask for any clarifying photos that you would need to verify that it is the thing that you want. The folks there seem really intent on, like, making you happy, and it's a real bummer, I'm sure, for them to, like, send it all the way out and then to find, like, this isn't what I want. So if there's a detail that you're sensitive about, ask them to push on the Ito and send a photo. I'm not sure exactly what photos they can or can't send, but make sure that the polish is what you want, because any specifications that you've asked for in the blade, do what you can to substantiate that they're there. And then hopefully you're not at all surprised by what you get in the mail. It meets your expectations exactly, which don't get me wrong. Like, it's always nice to be surprised pleasantly by things. And sometimes they can absolutely do that. But generally, to me, like in a professional sense, I always work with please give me exactly what you want, or exactly what I ask for. That's usually how I work in a professional capacity, because if I, for example, get, like, more than what I ask for, a lot of times professionally that actually creates homework for me and isn't a positive thing. With swords, it's a little bit different. Like, it's nice to be pleasantly surprised, but I would rather very consistently have my expectations met than periodically be pleasantly surprised and more often than not be disappointed. Da-da-da. Have you had a chance to handle anything from Rado swords? I have. I have, and it's in this box, Kyle. And it's these right here. These took quite a minute to make, and I need to send them off, and I should have done it earlier in the week, but you can probably see a swirly Mitsudoom right there. So I have a antique Suba and and I have Minuki that are antique with this theme, and these go really quite well with the Suba. And so I asked Rado Sword to make me some Fuchikashira that would go with it, because I had looked for quite a while for matching Fuchikashira and just couldn't find anything that was the right size for the blade. And now I have the pieces. I have to get them off to the mystery man in black, and we'll see what kind of sword comes out the other end. But I'm excited about it, and always, like I say it every time, and then it doesn't pan out to be true. But I am making it to keep it, and we'll see. We'll see if it speaks to me when it's all done. But yes, that's the piece that I've had from Radovan, or Rado Swords. I haven't held a sword from him before, but I would say that I hold his work in very high regard. These Fuchikashira were around about, like just these simple two pieces, in the end ended up costing over $500. And that's mostly, like, a big part of that is shipping, because it ended up with the exchange rate and PayPal and like shipping and yada yada yada, that ate into it. The cost of just these alone was like $400, but I think by the time it was done, it ended up being a little over $500. At the same time, that isn't a bad price to pay for really well made and somewhat intricately carved Fuchikashira. So his work is quite good. The shape, I gave him some specifications on one. I think he made good shapes and has a very strong foundation in what he's doing. And his sword photos look absolutely gorgeous. But if this is the first example that I've seen, I'd really love to see the sword that he makes. And I'm also kind of impressed that, like, a sword maker does as good a job on, like, Fuchikashira. There have been a few that do that. Josiah, for example, I've seen swords he's made. I've been wowed by them. He does an excellent job. But he also makes Fuchikashira that are really excellent. So, but a lot of folks don't, go out of their lane so much. So anyway, very impressed with his work. Matthew Jensen, McTavish Baron, the dwarf from The Hobbit, the one with the mohawk hair. He makes his own bourbon. Cheers to him. Kick in the teeth. All right. What's the best Albion alternative for medieval swords that I wouldn't have to wait 2+ years for after receiving an order? Well, I recently got a chance to from a sword friend that stopped by my house to take a look at some swords. He brought over his Valiant Armory Vision line Tauber, and it was a delight. I really, really liked it. It had some things, like, in terms of being a well-made sword, it was different than an Albion, but absolutely along the same lines in terms of level. It felt really well made. The handle and, like, all of the little things that you hear people praise in an Albion were there, and it also had a scabbard that matched, which is not something as easy to achieve with an Albion. So I thought that was probably the closest alternative that I've seen. I don't know if you can find an Angus trim blade around, but that would also be one that is not the same, but kind of equipped. But the Valiant Armory Vision line that I saw seemed different than Albion, but in the same league as swords that I like. And it was absolutely a delight. I really, really liked that sword. There were things about it that were just different. Like the appearance is like a little crisper, if you can imagine. Not that Albions are dull or something like that, but just lines on it are a little more precise or a little more pronounced. And on one hand, like, that looks really fantastic. I think it looks better than the Albion. I think the leather wrap actually looks better than the Albion. I think the scabbard, especially if you compare it to like a scabbard from Todd Stuff or something, I think the total package makes something that is better in terms of visual appeal than the Albion stuff is. feeling was very dynamic, and so different than Albion's, but in a positive way. Like Angus Trim did the design, it feels like a dream in your hand. At the same time, the lines are a little not sharp. It's not like it's going to cut you, but they do. Like I imagine if I hit a lead pipe with the sword, it might break the skin a little bit. Like those lines could be a little duller. They couldn't always feel great. I guess I would put it that way. But not in a way that's bad, if that makes sense. I think that overall that sword would be the direction I would point you if you didn't want to wait 2 years. Also, the used market. There's plenty that sometimes they pop up on Cult of Athena. There's also custom varieties. So Sword Friend Landon sent me this recently. I have no idea how much it is, but it's a Casey Lund Brazil nut blade, and it's made in like a Damascus-y pattern out of, I'll have to ask what it's made from, but this also has like remarkable tolerances and all the spots and feels really, really good in the hand. So there's custom makers as well. If you have Albion money, maybe you have a little bit more than Albion money, and there's options to consider there as well. Incidentally, Sword Friend Landon lent me this sword along with one from Jim Hasulis, Atar. That's not going to be a fun video to make, but this is the first Casey Lund blade that I've had, and Sword Friend Landon has mentioned that like he's pretty aggressive and uses his swords pretty aggressively, and that the Casey Lund blades have held up really, really well. So another thing that kind of feather in the cap for Casey Lund, or point in the direction of going maybe that way if you wanted. All right, let's see, where am I at? Really long fingers, large hands, cold steel knives are great. I have pretty large, Vass says, I have really long fingers, so the large handles on cold steel knives are great. I have not small hands, I guess I would say, and I don't know, I don't necessarily mind a smaller knife, though, but I think that's fair preference as well. I'm now up to 5 Skydro thanks to you and Mr. Excalibur. John, I'm glad that you are out there making bad decisions. So Skydro is one that I still really enjoy. I don't know if I like them more than the Shadow Dancer stuff. Now, Kyle's in the room here. Shadow Dancer has is not always super polite to reviewer folks. They've always been nice to me, but I'll acknowledge there's some folks that they have not been as personable to. And at the same time, they seem to make, pretty decent stuff. Skydro has at least some different unique fittings, but I do happen to really, I don't know, I like them all. Skydro does good stuff though. All right. Has my chat frozen? Probably. Why is it? All right, that's from John. Let me look over here. Okay. Software being... Not a fan of OBS at the moment. This is not going super great. Why is it so slow to do things? Shenanigans. Okay. Can look at this other thing. All right. I'm up to 5 Skydro. I don't mind forking over Albion money for Albion, but the weight, the weight will get you. By the time you get some of those swords, it depends on the kind of collector person that you are. If you are the kind of person that is just not going to be interested in the same thing 2 years from now, then that is not for you. But keep an eye out on the secondary market. Maybe post something that says what you're interested in and see who has one for sale. Every now and again, something pops up. Up All Night, ever tried Microtech? I have not. I have not had one. Just got mine back from warranty service. Hopefully they did a good job for you. I haven't had anything from Microtech. They did some collaboration with Rick Barrett a long time ago on like a Fallout flipper thing. And even though that's a chungussy, big brutish knife, it always looked really cool. And I thought about getting one a few times, but never quite pulled the trigger because of $400 fixed blade knife. Not that I don't have one, but it's a tough one. Though one of my favorite knives of all time is an Ed Martin, like bushcrafty kind of knife. It's a drop tip fixed blade knife. I really like drop tip fixed blade knives, and it's around about a $400 knife, or at least it was. And I hold it in my hand, and it just feels like a part of me. And it's it's $400, and even though it's not a beauty queen or anything, I'm kind of leery about using it, but I absolutely love the way it fits in my hand, and I've kept it around just for that reason, more or less. So it's not that I'm opposed to spending that kind of money, but I shy away from it generally with knives. Bass mentioned in that duel with Masashi, it was actually a draw. I don't want to remove anyone. I don't want to pin that. Why are you being such a pain, chat guy? There we go. Okay. Forgive my old manness while I navigate this software. All right. Has anyone broke a Depika? I have. They're very nice about it when I broke it. But never didn't send me anything else to check. Octane Junkie, is the Atar sword a katana? Yes, it is. It is back there, and yeah, I've got to make a video about it, and yeah. It's not going to be a very pleasant one. It's not going to be a very positive video, and I want to be very tactful. I'm not a fan of the sword. I wasn't going into it. After seeing it, I'm less a fan. But I do, I just need time to collect my thoughts, because I'm not trying to badmouth anyone. But I do have some rather unpleasant things to say, and I would like to make sure that I have all of the examples ready so that I can show why I think what I think, so that it doesn't come off as like some sort of slanderous, nasty person on the internet kind of thing. I would like to ideally be wrong, frankly. I'd like to make a video, say the things I think, and then have somebody be like, Matt, you're a moron, and here's why. That would be, at this point, the most ideal thing that could happen. But anyway, yes, the Atar sword is a katana. I just bought a Hatogai. They still make the 30-inch Negesa on the... They make the best 30-inch Negesa. I have had a 30-inch Skydro, and they do make a very solid 30-inch blade. Though, in fairness, John, that's Tengu 190, mentioning 30-inch swords here. I think you probably had a lot of experience with the longest swords out there. You would have maybe a better view. I really wish Hanwei would make, and I'll talk to Patrick about it next week, I wish they would make more swords in the long length. I would really like to have a practical XL in the 30-inch range. Shadow Dancer recently promoted a katana with Handachi mounts that looked really interesting. Not a style you see often. Kyle mentioned that one. Yeah, they've got some neat stuff. I like to see them trying different things. All right. What's your favorite Gladius sword? Crypto Baron, what's your favorite Gladius sword? Sub $300. I have very little experience with the Gladius swords, generally speaking. I hope LK Chen actually makes one, because if anyone could make a Gladius in the sub $300 or maybe sub $500 category, I bet they would do a pretty solid job. Which incidentally, in the Albion question, if you're looking for who makes an Albion the Templar sword from Balor Arms, which was a collaboration with LK Chen, was an absolute delight to move around in terms of a medieval sword. And I don't know if all of the other collaboration things that they've made in the European style are that nice, but if they are a fraction as nice, then they seem well worth the money. So that was not Albion level, but still an absolutely wonderful sword. Albion does some like fit and finish things well, but like dynamically, it could have been like it felt really, really good in the hand. Maybe not quite there. The grip wasn't quite there, but there's a lot of things that are right for the money that was there. All right. Studio GDT, take care. Thanks for hopping on. Sorry if you chatted and I'm not seeing it. Most expensive and heaviest fixed blade knife I've ever handled was an Edmund Davidson, who is down the road from me in Virginia. Wow. $60,000 for a knife, but you know, not a surprise. People go crazy. JJJJ, Matt, thanks for your thoughtful perspective and reviews. Thanks for the content. I elected to purchase a Dojo Pro Ko katana from Ronin Katana. Well pleased. Thought you might like the feedback. I'm glad that's the case. If you have thoughts on like what you like about it or not, I'd appreciate hearing them. But I'm glad that whatever I did steered you in a direction that you were happy with. A new Spartacus series is coming. I want a new Gladius. Can't blame you. I wish I had more experience with the Gladiuses. Topeka seems to be heavy. They must have broken the tang. The Topeka that I had, Andrew, broke at the tip when I was striking a branch. It's pretty uncommon for swords for me to break, even thin ones, to break when striking branches. Sometimes they'll bend, but it's usually a heat treatment sign, and the grain structure out at the tip looked pretty coarse. And then the quillins also kind of snapped instead of bent. So those were the two things that I had happen with the Topeka. The Topeka that I had also had a really aggressive profile taper, and it wouldn't surprise me if when it was hammered out, it got ground down and heated up, and they had to take a lot of material off to get the shape they were going for. And in doing that, that might have caused some issue, but that's really speculative on my part. I'm not a blacksmith, so I don't know. But it didn't seem quite heat treated as well as it coulda, woulda, shoulda been. I've been lucky enough to own a 9260 spring steel Tachi from Chen from before they closed down. Have you had the opportunity to push one to failure? No, I have not pushed a Chen one to failure. I will say that I have not liked the Chen blades that I've had, so every time I get one, I tend to part ways with it, not too short in order. I've had a number of them that seemed heavy. The Yamakami, I think the SGC, the like specific wide-bodied cutters, used to be a reasonable option if you didn't mind changing the Suba on them, because I had pokey feelings from the Suba. But Chen, I never quite got along with them. Not the company, nothing against them, but the swords, I can't say I ever picked one up and felt great with it. They were also always really hyped up. A lot of people really, really enjoyed the Chen blades that they had, and so I was always thinking like, oh, well, here's a smart person that really enjoys Chen. I'm probably going to like the Chen piece, and then I would get it, and I did not like it. So, all right. Lost my train of thought here. Where are we? I have an Odachi coming from Shadow Dancer. I have high hopes for it. Tell me what you think when you get it. Tenoval 47. I hope you like it. I like the longer Nagamaki that they sent. It was a little bit more katana than Nagamaki, but still really liked it. What do you think about the LK Chen Forge product? I mentioned this just a minute ago. Tanugaliguk. I don't know why that's the way I read it, but I'm going to lean in there because I can't understand how to pronounce that. But I like their stuff. So LK Chen has made some swords that I think fall a little bit short and have done much to address those. And I wish I got more samples to check their stuff out, because I find I really enjoy what they're doing, their approach to things, and and yeah, it's, I'm bummed out I don't get to see more stuff from them, but everything that I've had from them has had a lot of charm. And so the things that have fallen short to get them out of the way, there were some bronze fittings on some of their pieces that came off what I would say is prematurely and were just not cast in a way that held up to, the way swords might be used, debatably. And then there was an example with the song Handao where it broke prematurely in the video, and in a consistent way across two examples. And so those were the bad experiences I've had with LK Chen, but those are dwarfed by the positive experiences that I've had. All of their swords have shown command of like distal taper, historical accuracy, being well researched, and like I wasn't as interested in Chinese arms before LK Chen sent me some stuff to play with, and some of them absolutely are just delightful. The Magnificent Chujian is one that didn't get destroyed, fortunately, so I still have it, and whenever I pick it up, it too is just one of those swords that puts a smile on my face. It's just a delightful feeling sword, and all of them have had like a sense of charm. Some of them obviously are going to stand out to people, for subjective reasons. But their Euro swords have also been really, really nice. I tested the Messer that they built for Balar Arms, and now the the Templar that they built for Balar Arms, and both of them were really quite good. There were things that I obviously recommended to be resolved, and they weren't perfect, but all things considered, they made absolutely excellent swords, and they continue to improve. They continue to add a lot more models. They continue to add swords that I haven't seen or thought of being reproduced. They're making some cool military sabers. I think LK Chen, they're just a really fun manufacturer. I think they do really solid stuff, and so I'm always eager to see what they come out with next. And I think that they really seem to, you could make some criticisms about maybe some of the looks and some of the fit and finish, but they really capture a lot of what makes a sword important, and that's like how it feels and how it moves in your hand, and like if it works. And so generally speaking, they do a very solid job on those things, and usually demonstrate a pretty awesome value. The Chujian is a sword that I didn't have any familiarity with, and so kind of being delighted by it is not is a good thing, I guess I would say, but also that could happen. The Templar sword is a sword type that I generally do not like, and it's not that I'm like biased and hate it or have some loathsome opinion of it, but it's not a sword type that I generally gravitate toward and like. But this is one that I would go out and buy. It's a meaningful addition to any collection. So I think hopefully that's enough praise and stuff to heap upon LK Chen. But suffice to say, I do generally enjoy the vast majority of products that they make, and I think they do a pretty solid job for what they ask for. Octane Junkie, fair enough, man. I've never even owned a katana, so looking for a solid starter that is differentially hardened. There's a ton of awesome options out there. You're coming into the hobby at an absolutely wonderful time because there are tons of different options out there. If you're just starting though, and you want a differentially hardened one, I think Shadow Dancer does a really good job of making a pretty sword. There's been some meaningful offerings from Mini Katana. Their highest end one goes on sale sometimes for like $850, and it's effectively like a Shadow Dancer style blade. I did a video comparing two very similar swords, but the folded variety one is not particularly expensive for what you get for the money. That's a really solid one. If you care about like the looks and differential hardening, and you want that. If you want durability, Cloudhammer makes some really awesome and durable S5 swords. Skydro makes some really interesting and pretty swords. There's a ton of variety and cool stuff out there to be had. So, good time to jump in the fun. John is mentioning RVA Katana has a good selection. Indeed, they do. Looking forward to some dealing with David and Valley from Swordiz, waiting on some walkies and a custom S5 Shadow Dancer. The company intrigues me. I am wrapping up a video about my experience shopping with Swordiz, but punchline is go check it out, swordiz.com. That's sword is like is.com. It's been fun. So they sent me a like coupon to use to go shop for some stuff on their site. I'm finishing it up. There were some challenges along the way, but I'm glad that they happened because it gave me a chance to test customer service and what they do and ask a few more questions than if I had just hit buy and everything went hunky-dory. Because it took like four weeks to wrap everything up. But I'm finally getting around to wrapping the video up, and you should see that in the next couple of days. But I also, generally speaking, liked it. And I didn't get a chance to put this in the video, but one of the things in my video that I mentioned is on their main website, there are like reviews that are there, and they're 5 stars. And when I was initially making my video, I was like, all of these super positive reviews that show up, like I'm kind of leery about that from websites I'm unfamiliar with. And then I put out a review for one of the swords that I got, and it shows up right on the front page, and it's not a 5-star thing. So I'll give them some credit. They don't always put just the 5-star ones up there. Anyway, worth checking out for anyone listening. Sword is it sounds like reached out to Joe. They sent something to me, and they're a company that's selling swords, and they have a welcome coupon that's right on the main page that gets you a little bit of discount. And at least when I was comparing the pieces that I ended up with, it was cheaper to buy from Sword is after I factored in the shipping, so you might save a couple bucks there. Anyway, any plans in the works to review any of the RVA Katana house brands? I don't have any. Well, I guess I would say John knows who I am, and the door is always open. I'd certainly be happy to do that at any point in time, but I don't. Well, I'm happy to do it. I don't have any right now. Door is certainly open to do that if John wants to send one my way. Though John has eclipsed me in terms of YouTube subscribership. So RVA Katana is a larger, more popular channel than this one is. So I don't know exactly what benefit would come. Usually, the vendors that work with me don't tend to have larger YouTube channels. Though that's not always the case, because Mini Katana sent me some swords and they have like 11 million subscribers or something. So anyway, yeah, it's not unheard of, but I would absolutely be happy to. Michael, I keep my swords in my truck, and when people mess with me, I bust it out and say there can be only one. Works. Would not recommend that, sir. That seems like a career-limiting maneuver. But you do you. Not for me to tell you what to do, but busting out a katana is usually escalation, I think is what that would be called politely. Though I can see how it would make people back off. My first katana was their mid-tier from Ronin. It came super sharp. Glad to hear it. Custom katana worth it for 400? Are custom katanas worth it? If so, are there any recommendations sub $400? With most custom katana that you can buy out there, and I think Kyle Alien Toot, who is here, I'm not sure if he's still in the room, he describes them as like the parts list. I can't remember the term he uses, but it's more poetic than mine. But the drop-down pick websites, you get something that is a little bit more you. So if the color combination and the fittings, if you can find something in that combination that makes a sword that you really feel good about, then I think that's meaningful. I just got done talking for 15 minutes about how there's a knife made from broken swords that makes me giggly. So there's absolutely something to really enjoying the sword that you get and making it a little bit more uniquely your own. And if those do that, then yeah, I think that's worth it. I've pushed a number of them to failure. They usually last quite a while. There's nothing bad about them, and the amount that it takes to get like a not particularly durable but still reasonably well-made sword to one that's exceptionally durable, like the difference isn't enormous, really. Like they all cut through branches. They survive. They do really similar things. So I think that those absolutely can be worth it. And I know Ryan Sword makes some. I know Hanban does. I know Jayco does. I know. I think Cloudhammer can. I don't know if they're in that ballpark though. Who else does? Swords of Northshire does. Yeah, there's a lot of them. I think Shadow Dancer can. I don't know if there's any in the $400 range, but there's lots of different options out there, and I would say they tend to draw from the same parts bin, and hopefully you find something that you enjoy. Now that said, I do think that you tend to get more if you don't do that, and you tend to get it faster. So picking a model from Skydrill, from Shadow Dancer, from something off the shelf, I think you tend to get a little bit better fit and finish on the sword when it's a model. But, just my thoughts, I guess. Frank Knotts, how's it going? How close are the Maximilian to the Claymore from Arms and Armor? The Claymore from Arms and Armor. I don't think I have a Claymore sword from Arms and Armor. How close is the Maximilian to the Claymore sword from Arms and Armor? I appreciate the super chat, though. Let me look. Does Arms and Armor make a Claymore? Oh, they do make a Claymore. I don't recall getting to play with this one. Maybe I can ask them if they have one available. I can go wiggle it around. I don't recall playing with the Claymore from Arms and Armor, Frank, so I'm sorry. I don't exactly know. But it looks like a nifty, cool sword. I'm looking at it on the other screen, which I would share with you. Would I have a better idea of how to use OBS? Which I don't think this is going to be a regular thing for me. I like the camera more. I think the video quality is coming through better, but the concessions to not be able to show things and pick up chat and stuff like that, I think are. I think OBS. I think it's worth the drop in video quality to get the better user experience and less, derpy old man trying to figure out how to use software. But I'll experiment with it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that seeing me clear is a feature either. But yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have a better answer for the Claymore. The Maximilian, though, I don't know the overall length. How long was the blade? The blade is only 40 inches. Is that longer than the Maximilian? The blade length is 41 inches. So I'm guessing that's like a limitation of shipping would be my speculation, because the overall length is 56 inches. Should be able to ship bigger than that, though. I wonder why they're so similar in size. I don't know how similar they feel. I got rid of my Maximilian, though, and the Tyrolean is the one that I still keep around. So I could compare the two. That'd be fun. I wonder if I can ping Craig or Nate over there and ask him if I can come play with their toys. The Okami shout out to Ronan bought the Viking model, Viking 7 model for a friend, and it was a beast. Want the new bastard sword model. Well, it sounds like you're enjoying them. All right. Have you ever handled a real Japanese $5,000 plus authentic Tamahagane handmade katana overhyped? It takes about 2 months to make, or so I've heard. Seems insane, but respect. So Crypto Baron, yes, is the answer. I have had held lots of them. So generally speaking, I don't talk about Shinsakudo. I don't talk about a lot of authentic Japanese-made blades here. I don't own many of them, and every now and again I buy antiques, but there's it's a very mature hobby, and there's, again, people who know more about it, and it's easy to give misinformation about it. But yeah, I can't say that a lot of them cross my collection, but when I go to shows or events, oftentimes there are Nihonto there. I get a chance to play with that. I'm certainly very nosy about other people's private collections and stuff around my area too, and get a chance to see that. And so yes, I have certainly held some. The one sword that I got to hold was from a member of the Jitetsu, so a disciple of Masamune, and I got to hold a long sword that was made by one of the disciples of Masamune, and it was over my head, frankly. But I mean, that's a sword that's, well, a lot of money. It's got lots of zeros in the end. And so I don't know if it'd be over 100 or over 200, or I don't know how much it would be. But anyway, lots of money. And a lot of it gets lost on me, frankly. I don't know that I'm an astute enough student to appreciate some of what makes it particularly special. Obviously, historical value certainly does, but some of the workmanship and how it relates to history and time and all that. But anyway, Overhyped? I don't think they're overhyped. I think they're different though. So it depends on what you value in a sword. Is it like the way that it's made? Is it the craft? Is it the history? Is it the place? Is it the smith? Is it, some combination of all those? Is it none of those? Do you just want it to look like a katana and be able to cut through bricks? Depending on what you want out of the sword, different things start to take a lot of value. And I'm going to bring it back to that chef knife that Mike made me, right? So it's a really big, expensive knife, but it tickles me because of what it's made from, for who made it, what the things that I did with the things before he made it from those other things. Like all of that makes that knife more special to me probably than anyone else. And so some of that stuff can be baked into Nihonto as well. The history, the period, the tie to culture, the material that it's made from, the skill that it took, the trial and error that got built up over generations to figure out how to make these things. I don't know, all sorts of different factors can make them really special. If you think what makes them special is that they will cut through tanks or they possess magical powers, then yes, overhyped would be an accurate description. But if you appreciate those other factors, then no, I don't think so. I think they're absolutely worth what you pay for them. I think they're beautiful works of art, and I think they're certainly things to be appreciated and aspired to collect. But you have to like them for what they are, not kind of the mystique that maybe grows around them a little bit. Kyle mentions drop-down brands is what he calls them. I think that's a poetic way of putting it. All right. John, does anyone make the sword from the Berserk? I believe there are some examples on Etsy, though I don't think they're particularly fantastic examples from my understanding. Heat treatment seems to be problematic on them. I don't know if that's a wide brush I'm painting, but I don't know if anyone makes like a really accurate one exactly. Spark, Matthew, had you been worried of your receding hairline? Just a random question. I would say it's one of my dominant features, my 5 head. Everybody seems to know somebody that looks like me, and I think it's just somebody seems to recognize me from this end up. So it's not fun to gradually lose your hair over time. It's not a joy, but it's a thing that is, I'm resigned to having happen. And I don't know. I don't want to do much of anything about it. It's just let nature take its course and be okay with it. So yes, I wouldn't say my favorite feature, but one that I am is frequently commented on and that I can take ribs about. You can have OBS show live chat on a stream. Not sure how you would get highlighted comments, though. Certainly not as easy as StreamYard. Yeah, that is what I'm finding out. I think there's a way to do it, but it's just not fun to figure out live. That's what I'm finding out. Paul Martin has a new book out. Can't wait to get it. What is his new book? I will have to look at it. Family Duty Calls, Matt. Thanks again. I'm probably going to wind down the stream here in the not too distant future. Before I do though, are there any particular questions that anyone has for me that I could babble on about? While that is going on, I can mention some things that we'll play with in the future. So this is one. You will see it mentioned in the Sword Is video that I got from the site, and it's a bronze sword. And so one thing I could certainly ask community-wise is there anything you would like to see a bronze sword used for? This is, they don't call it the Sword of Gojan, but the Chinese-like story of the sword that's still sharp and was found in, I believe they call it the Sword of Gojan or something. Anyway, it's a little shorter than, some of the pictures might lead me to believe, but it's a bronze sword, and I'm kind of interested to see what things I might be able to learn from it and do from it, because this is the first bronze sword that I've had. So if you can think of anything you would like me to smack it into, to do with it, to see if it's good or bad, please let me know. It's heavy. It reminds me of like a big letter opener. That's not a particularly complimentary thing to say about a sword, but I do happen to like it. And it's not dissimilar. I got to hold at the Oakshott Institute, there's a authentic Bronze Age, I can't remember what it is. It's like a very leaf blade shaped looking thing. And when I picked it up, I was also like, oh, the grip is really small and it's really like very stout in the hand, and it's kind of shorter than you might expect a sword to be. This is kind of like that. So if I hadn't had that experience, I kind of would have thought like, this can't be what these swords feel like. But I've held a 2,000-year-old Bronze Age sword, and it's not in order of like, it's not that different in terms of weight and feeling. Bringing up a man's forehead, that's a low blow. It's a high blow, actually. Face punch. It's fine. It's all good. You're welcome to chagrin my 5-head. It's totally fine. Any blades that just won't break but bend, they all fail eventually. There hasn't been one that hasn't broke. There have been swords that have broke in such a way that they've broken before I got to break the blade, but the blades all eventually succumb to the croquet stake of doom. Is there some online instruction around for basics? The RVA Discord has a free weekend class. I don't know about free classes or basics. I do know Learn the Sword. Dana Abbott, who is a figure that gets some praise and ridicule alike, but his classes, in terms of like, here's how you draw a sword, and the way he articulates it, I find to be easy to follow. And I don't think he's a particularly bad cutter, so I don't think I wouldn't necessarily say that that's the only way to learn a sword, and I'd certainly encourage you to find like in-person instruction, because I find that has absolutely helped me, as opposed to trying to learn over the web. Like the web can be a great supplement to in-person learning. It was during COVID, but like it absolutely held back some of the learnings that I would have had in person. But there are ways to like get some of the basics and to work some things yourself and develop some familiarity and see if maybe the hobby's for you or not. But I don't even know if I would go that far with only online instruction, honestly. I'm not trying to dig at anyone that doesn't have access to it and chooses to do it, but if you do have access to in-person learning, then it would certainly behoove you to seek that out. Will you be doing a video on the updated Honsenmai SL5L from Taisuki? If they send me one, yes. So Jack has pinged me. First of all, I guess I'd say from the Taisuki side of things, many of the criticisms that I had in the video have been addressed on the social media posts that I've seen Taisuki make. So it looks like they've addressed the Ito. The fittings were kind of, I think didn't live up to what I would love to see from a sword in that price point. They addressed it and made them, told a better story with them. If the Ito can't be super tight, then Jabe Amaki, the kind of interwoven, they made it fancier. And I think that is, if you can't make it super tight, or maybe it is super tight now, I'm not sure. It looks like they've improved the polish. The Nakago is different. They zhuzh things up quite a bit. And so I tip my hat to them for taking a lot of what I said. And I don't know if it's just me or feedback from other customers. I don't want to take credit for their hard work. But a lot of the suggestions that I made, I see action taken on. It hasn't been that long since I did that review. And I see a lot of their swords have really improved. And like they look better, and it looks like they've made meaningful improvements that would help justify the asking price that they have. Now I've got an open invitation to Taisuki to send me one that they feel is going to be a better example, and I will be happy to re-review it. And I would love to tell the story of, hey, here's where it was and here's where it is now, and now it's an excellent sword. I'd love to make that video. I don't like making this sword is poopy, don't buy it videos. Those aren't fun. So anyway, I don't know if they'll send one. I think they're, I don't know if they're waiting to improve some things. Jack has said that he will send one in the future, but I don't know at what point that will be. But when it happens, absolutely happy to do the video, and I really look forward to being able to compare them. I think, I'd love to see them make awesome stuff that justifies that $3,000 price tag. And I also, I'm happy that they are continuing to try for $3,000. It's not like they got bad feedback and said, "Oh, we'll make the same thing and just drop the price till people buy it." They're like, "No, we want to make nice swords," and they, stepped it up. And so I appreciate that. It's ballsy. Not all drop-down experiences are equal for sure. I've had 2 custom made through Hanbon. Came out excellent, whereas seeing the Swords of Northshire review I ordered, whereas after seeing Northshire review I ordered one months ago without showing. You never got it? Have you pinged Swords of Northshire? Have you? I'm guessing you have. It's a bummer. I hope they get you what you paid for. Or give you your money back. Do the thing where you bend the sword and make it straight. I don't know how long it's going to take, how much of that it'll take, but we'll find out. Croquet Stick of Doom needs its own theme song like Anathar. There are what's it called? Suno? S-U-N-O? Yes. Suno.com. So you can make five songs per day from like an AI generated sound thing. So if you make a Croquet Steak of Doom song, you can go to, if you have some ideas for lyrics in mind, you can go and make a Croquet Steak of Doom theme song. That'll be the that would be fun. Everybody go make your own thoughts on a Croquet Steak of Doom theme song with the free samples you can get from Suno, and and we can have a judgment contest for the Croquet Steak of Doom theme song. I am terrible at spelling, so I went there and I tried to make a theme song, but I ran out of tokens to make more, and I spelled Crochet Steak of Doom, and it made the song much less cool to have the Crochet Steak of Doom. Yes, so I'm classy that way. Also, 100%. I also 100% recommend in-person instruction for Kenjutsu. Yes, it does make a difference. Matt, do you have any swords you wouldn't sell? No. And I say that not saying that, like... So there's swords that would absolutely make me very uncomfortable and sad to sell. But everything, I guess all of them have their price, because like I would... If somebody offered me like my kids' college tuition taken care of for the sword I love most, like I love my kids more, and I would rather provide for them than keep the things I love. So it all, I guess, would, there are some that I would be very, very, very loath to part with, and that frankly would be stupid, like my bamboo mat katana. One of my favorite swords, in fact, but it's fundamentally like a sword you can buy for $500 or $600, and then I've had it customized in a way that probably no other person would like as much as me, because it's bedazzled with swirly mitsudomes everywhere. I am tickled by it, but not everyone would be. And fundamentally, like at its core, it's a little bit heavier than an average bamboo mat, and it's like a Chinese-made production sword that's been, dolled up. And so to me, I love it. I like all the things about it, and it's fun and filled with positive memories and all the sappy things that make things special to me, along with just a balance and feel that I like. But if somebody were to offer me like my kids, college paid for, that would be silly, because like that you could buy that sword for $500. So why would you do that? It wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense to sell for what I would want, like what it would take to buy it. But I guess, they all have their price, though some I would say would be well above market value and not sensical to buy, if that makes sense. What age did you get into this hobby? What inspired you to do so? I have no idea, Crypto Baron. I've been interested in swords for as long as I can remember. When I was like 2 years old, I liked swords, as far as I'm told. I don't remember it personally, but apparently the earliest toys I had were swords and toy cars, and I've always liked swords. I got more seriously interested in collecting when I had the money to do so, which was, more than a decade ago now, probably about 15 years ago, when I was on the wrong end of my 20s. I think I was a little bit more interested in it, or put more effort and money into it, and I started making videos about it when that didn't go very well, and I thought I could contribute to the conversation. Gotta work late. Just wondering how people feel about cheaper Taisuke sword. That's a good question, Dirty Scav. That looks like a neat sword. Taisuke makes some ornate things, and their more expensive ones are weird, but their recent $600 sword, I've heard a few people that have gotten it and seem to generally like it. There's one case that I heard of had some, I don't know if it was shipping damage or something, but apart from that, the person seemed to really, really enjoy the features of the sword that were there. Which incidentally, I think it has some like leather on it, and I don't know if it's very clear that the leathers often has like seams on it. So if that's something that bothers you, I guess be aware of it. But leather ito will often have like a visible seam, somewhere in the ito where it's kind of glued together, because there aren't cows that are 47 feet long. Don't know why I got on that tangent. Had to work on a knife. What I missed? Nothing. A big 5-headed guy, Mike. But stream is ending in the near future. Is there an email contact you can share? I'm trying to get Yao at Hanban Forge to send another review sample. Want to know what you'd like on it. Well, best to ping me on the Facebooks for that. I try not to post email on the YouTube chats, because bots and stuff then spam the crap out of me, and it takes a while to clean up. The YouTube email that you can get if you prove you're not a robot is accurate, and I will respond to it. And yeah, otherwise Facebook, you can ping me there, and we can chat. I think that's where I've talked to Yao in the past about stuff. I'm a songwriter. What do you want? Samurai Bird, I need a theme song for the Croquet Steak of Doom. That's Samurai Bird versus AI songwriter. And then a theme song for that. For the duel between you and the AI song generation. Any recommendations on a good kitchen knife block set? Brands are specific. I recommend Seventh Dragon Knife Works. Mike Curley is in the chat here. He makes some damn fine kitchen knives. I really enjoy them. In terms of like knives that you can buy, I can't say that I've been terribly displeased with the Shun knife that I have. I do have to sharpen it a lot more than I thought I would. But so my wife has a tendency to cut directly onto the granite countertops, and I love her anyway. But that is what the knives we're dealing with have to survive. So it's worth knowing that, but some knives hold up a little better than others. I think there's treats to be had in getting some custom pieces though. So if you're interested, like I said, Mike made me the knife that I posted in a video very recently. I do really enjoy it, but he also has knives that are not extraordinarily expensive. I want to say the Shun Chef Classic was like $120-ish or $100 on like special when I bought it many years ago. And I think for a little bit more, you can actually get probably not the same size, but maybe something. Ping Mike and see what he's got, because I know he has the Dragon Bin specials of things that he thinks are not good enough, but are still probably some pretty damn fine knives. And then you have a one-of-a-kind custom awesome thing. Yeah. Anyway, that's... Oh, Samurai Bird's on it. I think that's a great place to end it. Samurai Bird is going to go out there and make some theme songs for the Croquet Steak of Doom, and a theme song for him battling AI art to make a theme song for the Croquet Steak of Doom. It's gonna be awesome. Anyway, I think that is that is where I'm going to call the stream. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. This was an experiment to try different software, and I'm not sold on it, but I'll see if I can be less stupid with OBS or if there's something I'm missing. I do appreciate all the questions. I appreciate everyone hopping on. There was no notice. Next week, at about the same bat time, same bat channel, Patrick from Cast Siberia is going to join me on a stream, and we'll be doing it. I don't have it listed yet, but Friday night at 7 p.m. Central is the plan. And if you have questions for Hanwei, then if you can think of them, I put something in the social thingy things on YouTube. So if you have questions or things you'd like me to poke him about or ask him to prepare information on, feel free and throw that my way, because he will be on the 10th of May. So that's it. I'm going to stop there. Again, thanks everyone. Cheers, and thanks for watching.